Mr. Bill Brown. Bill?
Thank you. Well, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, we have here a shy, laid-back, hesitant individual, but I'm also a real go-getter. I've always been a very logical, left-brained academic, even as a small child, but that can be expected because I grew up in a family where every Sunday we would watch reruns of Star Trek. And my favorite character was Scotty, with Spock coming in a close second. As a child, beam me up would have been very helpful in a lot of situations, but because I just didn't feel comfortable where I was with people who were unfamiliar, who I didn't feel I could relate to them. It was partly because I was such a meticulous individual, especially at written papers, anything written really. And that was even before spell checkers were around, and so that didn't make it easy. My primary first pet, even though we had a dog, was a Commodore computer that had 8K of RAM, a cassette tape deck, and little chiclet keys, a monochrome monitor, all in one package. But I loved it. So in high school, my favorite teacher was a fellow by the name of Mr. Leckrone. He was the calculus teacher, a short fellow, very thin, and just skin and bones, basically, a goatee. But a lot of the kids just loved him, including myself. We called him Disco Leckrone. And this was because of the way he taught us how to graph the various equations, saying that as far as the exponent, the largest exponent, if it was in even positive, even negative, and odd positive, or an odd negative. And so thus the name Disco Leckrone. But you'd still see the kids, even though they called him Disco Leckrone, during a test, they'd be working away, and then think, and move along. College was a little different, and that was largely because of the Spartan Marching Band. With the tryouts to get into that, which I did, playing baritone horn, I just loved it. I could talk for hours about the Spartan Marching Band, but I only have 6 to 8 minutes. Some of my engineering classes that I was working on a mechanical engineering degree, they were a real drag. One in particular was a calculus class where I was just falling flat on my face, basically getting maybe a 1 point when the final came along. But I worked my tail off studying for this final, and I aced it. It was the first one done. I was out of there in no time, and the prof gave me a 3.5. After college, I spent 13 years in Minneapolis, where winters are just feared, but you have to be prepared. And I walked to and from work, but this came in very handy. And one day when I was getting ready to go home, on a very wintry day, one of my coworkers said that whatever you do, that's very good for you, but don't go to a gas station or any convenience store. Eventually the work that I was doing was outsourced, and I had to try and find another job. As funds dried up, I moved back to Michigan and then found a job here, got married, just recently closed on a house, and my wife and I had our first baby 16 days ago. So I am a real go-getter. I'm not certain that I would call myself prodigious, but I do really work to get things done. It's not always easy to be shy and a go-getter, but